we had a couple guys to get wounded by shrapnel. I guess maybe around 8 or 9 o'clock that night. We had a couple of, Charlie fired a couple rounds and they were wounded by the branches. I mean, it was.
This was mortar or?
Yes, mortars.
Yeah.
Yeah. To sit there on line and you're trying to tell your squad what they need to do, and they set up their firing stakes, and about 1 o'clock, they'll look at you and say, Sergeant Owens, I think I see something out there. Take your hand off the trigger. If it's not in front of you and you don't see it, you don't squeeze. You understand?
That's hard to maintain discipline in a scary place.
In a scary place, and for some, that was their, outside of the patrolling action that we did, that was their first physical look at combat, except for Sergeant Kluge, Sergeant Mason, Al Montgomery. And we had about 4 veterans, 4 Korean War veterans that was in there, that was in the company. But all the rest of them were first timers, scared to death, like I was in Berlin in '61.
Yeah.
And they made it through the night. Captain Forrest came in about, I guess it must have been about 7:30, and he called the squad leaders down, and he said, Fred, you're going to lead out point today. I said, okay. And Sergeant Bond said, no, I'm going to lead out point today. Captain G said, you've never been on point before. He said, I need to see what's going on. He said, now, if that's what you want to do, I'll let you do it. So I went back and I took over the first squad of the 2nd Platoon. About when we started to march out, it's just I had a very uncomfortable feeling myself from the standpoint of me being point man before. When we walked out, everybody walked out as though everything is going to be fine, everything is going to be okay. 3rd Platoon was on our right. They were about 200 meters to the right front. The 3rd Platoon split the ambush. We were about an hour into the march when there was what we call the sporadic firing. What's that? But they'd already called the company commanders up front.
Didn't that seem strange to you?
And that was a strange aspect, because when the company commanders went forward, the column was still moving. But at the same time, 2-7 was sitting down, taking a lunch break. And here I am in the back of the column. We're still moving. And we can see them sitting down, taking out their C rations. And Perp looked at me and he said, Sergeant Owens, what's wrong? The hair on my back, on my neck was standing that tall.
Mm-hmm.
And Perp looked at me and he said, this is a perfect place for an ambush. And it wasn't 15 seconds later, all hell broke loose.
Yeah.
And here come Captain G about a minute or so after that, running like a bat out of hell. A man 6
I'd have
foot,
paid money to see that.
6'6", 260 pounds.
He ran right through the whole ambush.
Ran through 300 meters like it was made for him. like he was out there on the football field running for a touchdown. But what he was really running for was his men's, because we were in the back.
Yeah.
He could see where the firing was, and when he got about 35, 40 meters from it, he said, shoot in the trees. He said, they're in the trees. 2-7 was underneath on the ground, and we started firing in the trees. And he said, you're firing at us. Nope, they're in the trees. Had they looked up,
They could have seen them.
they would have seen them. But they were concerned with concerned with the eating. Sergeant Bond, who was the E6 who wanted to be point man that day, I found out about, I think it was 2003, 2004, one of the guys from 2-7s, we were talking about an individual who got hit in the trench going into Albany. He said when the round hit, all he saw was just body parts, and that was Sergeant Bond. Sergeant Clues asked me to crawl out toward the ditch to see if I could
Find him.
find anyone out there. I crawled all the way up to the ditch. All I saw was nothing but blood. And it was only when I was told
What happened to him?
that I knew that was the individual. What could that have been me? I don't know. Could have. That's what fate.
What
did.
happened when Captain Forrest got back to the company?
I put it like this. He was the only commander on the ground who knew what the heck was going on. If they want to single out one individual who saved Albany, he was Captain G. Only man who knew what the command radio signal was up there. He lost both of his radio operators, but he was the man who was guiding them in. They talk about how he placed people there at Albany. He was the man who did it. And with all of that said, near the end of the evening, when things quieted down a little bit, he looked around. He said, I know what's on your mind. He said, but if and his words were sort of like, I don't give a damn what you're thinking. You will not put my name on that piece of paper for what you think you're going to put it in for. And we looked at, but Captain G, I can find you. And when you see a field grade captain commander at that time walk around with a silver star with 2V devices, you stop and think what he sacrificed. Because there wasn't another commander on the ground who could do a damn thing. He took charge.
From the rear of the...
From the rear of the column. He took charge from the rear of the column. It was like a bloodbath.
Yeah.